Oh man, how is it going, everybody? First video in like a couple of months, but we're kind of doing a reset, getting back into it. I got a lot to talk about. Let's go. All right, so I want to talk about dealing with adversity today, because honestly, dealing with adversity is an essential skill, honestly, and how well you can deal with adversity, I think, is a big predictor in how well or how much success you will find. Recently, I lost like 8 videos somehow. I don't know what happened. But then I got super backed up on other projects, and honestly, there was about another 4 videos that I just never edited, and I've just decided, okay, scrapping it, whatever, we're restarting. This concept of managing adversity, I mean, it really ties in very closely to the concept of grit, which is something that you either have or you don't. You have it to varying degrees, but truly to have grit, you either have it or you don't. And fortunately, it's something that you can 100% develop. But you're not going to learn it in school, you're not going to learn it in your job. You're just going to learn it through life circumstances, and that can be school, that can be a day job, that can be running a business, that can be, you know, losing somebody important to you in your life. But it's through these adverse experiences that you develop grit. How do you respond to it? Do you let it just run you over, railroad you, and you're done, and oh, I can't do this anymore, I quit? Or you say, all right, let's go to war. Your reaction to adversity will determine your level of success. And that's the coolest part of it, is that Angela Duckworth, who wrote Grit, actually did the study. I believe she did the study, where they looked at these, like, what are the greatest predictors of success? And one of the biggest predictors of success was your level of grit. How much are you willing to keep getting fucking knocked in the face and keep going, keep going, keep going? You look at the difference between somebody like LeBron James, right? And I'm not saying that he hasn't dealt with adversity, he clearly has. However, people look at him as the ultimate success story, but he's not the ultimate success story. He was an extreme outlier where he went from high school basketball player straight into the NBA. That's an extreme outlier. That's not what most people deal with. Now look, he had to work hard to get there. He's very talented. He deserves it. I'm not taking anything away from him there. But then you look at a player on the opposite end of that spectrum, Dwayne Wade, who was not an abnormally phenomenal player in high school, went into college, busted his ass for years, worked his way up and through, and really, I mean, I don't think he got a scholarship to play, I don't think he got a scholarship to play college basketball. Worked his way up and got to a point where then he was in the NBA and considered one of the best players of all time. Now that is a story of grit. And beyond that, we can look at musicians who have been rejected time and time and time again, over and over and over and over again, before finally getting a record deal. You look at all of these successful entrepreneurs, very few who are very successful started off as, we're Jeff Bezos, started Amazon, and then it turned into this. That is an extreme outlier. Most entrepreneurs, most business owners, most successful ones have had 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 failed businesses before they found one that was successful. How are you going to deal with that adversity of, I took a shot, I worked as hard as I could, I lost money, I didn't make it. Okay, reassess, re-strategize, and going forth with something else. We're going to make something work. We're not giving up. That's grit, and that is your predictor of success. What are some strategies to build grit? One thing that you can do is intentionally set difficult situations in your life. A prime example of this, and I think personally the most foolproof way to build grit in your life, is to work out hard. Doesn't matter what it is. Could be a long race, like long biking, could be running, could be sprints. I mean, I guess that's running, right? Could be weights, could be kettlebells, could be calisthenics, could be gymnastics, whatever it is. Doing something that's really pushing it. Another way to build grit in your life is to actually do monthly challenges, or, you know, for 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 3 months or whatever it may be. I'm going to try to learn something new. I'm going to do something difficult. You know, that's a good strategy too. God, that motherfucker doesn't know how to drive. You know, constantly learning something new. It's a difficult process to learn something new. I mean, it's physically, to learn something new is actually mentally exhausting, but it also has a physiological response too, where your body actually gets tired. It's a lot of work to actually learn something new that's difficult. Just doing something that you don't like to do, or giving up something that perhaps is bad for you. Let's say you smoke. Let's say maybe you drink too much. Let's say maybe you spend too much time on social media or watching too much TV. That's hard to give up. But you do it and you stick with it and say, no, I'm not giving up. I don't give a shit. I'm gonna keep going and I'm gonna make it happen. That builds grit. Starting a business, that'll teach you grit, because you're gonna face a lot of rejection. Trying to make sales, trying to convince people to use your service or use your product, you're gonna get rejected a lot. You're gonna get a lot of no's. You're gonna get a lot of people who just don't respond to you or even acknowledge you. It's tough. Another thing that you can do to build grit, we'll talk about misogi in another video. How about that? We won't discuss that in this video because that's a whole topic that we could really get into. It's a very fun topic, but we'll save it for another video. Here's a few small things that you can do to build grit. Go to a coffee shop, go to a restaurant, go to a store, wherever it may be, someplace that you're not well known, you're not a regular, that everybody knows you, and say, hey, can I get 10% off? Just ask. Chances are they're gonna say no, and that's okay. You know what you say? Okay, thanks. Just thought I would ask. Then you carry on, and then you pay for what you're gonna get anyways. And your day goes on and you realize, okay, I got rejected. That wasn't too bad. Like that, the thought of that was way worse than it actually was. Small thing, building grit that you can repeat and repeat and repeat until you're like, hey, I'm not uncomfortable doing that now. And already at that point, you've built up a decent starting point of grit. Like, hey, yeah, you know what? You're on your way, bud. You're on your way. You got more grit than most people have already. Something else you can do to build grit, and honestly, this is something I did to build grit. I mean, hey, it's kind of got like a nice payoff if it works out pretty well too. Is just, all right, so I'm going to say this from the guy's perspective because I'm a guy and that's all I know. All through college, you know, I dated the same person. When I got out of college and we broke up, I had no clue what to do. Right? I was like, I don't know how to date people. I really don't. I have no clue how to date people. I don't know how to ask somebody out. How do people even meet? I don't know. So what I would do is I just would force myself to ask somebody out. You know, if I was at a coffee shop, which I spent a lot of time at coffee shops, if you watch this channel at any point in time, you know I really like coffee. If I was at a coffee shop and there was somebody who I thought was attractive, I would just go up, introduce myself, and I'd tell them, hey, you know, like, honestly, I didn't even have like a move or anything. Hey, you know, sorry to interrupt, my name's John. I don't know, I think you're really pretty. I was wondering, you know, would you be interested in going on a date sometime? Simple as that. And honestly, just asking, the hardest part with that, the absolute hardest part with that process is just moving your feet to start walking up there. And once you open up your mouth, there's no going back. You're getting a yes or you're getting a no. And you're gonna find out in about the next 30 seconds to 1 minute. And it goes by like that. And the first couple times I did that, I got a no. And then I just started getting yeses. right? And I'm not sitting here saying this to brag or anything, but honestly, 80 something, 90 something % of the time, the answer was sure. And a lot of times we'd go on a date and then, there just wasn't chemistry, and that's fine. And we just go our separate ways. And I have no idea what these people are up to now, and that's fine. Nothing against any of those folks. I had literally nothing bad to say about any of them. I just, how's it going? It just, didn't work. But what do you expect, right? Like, you know nothing about this person. They know nothing about you. You meet up, you go to dinner, you go, get coffee, do something cheap, whatever it may be. Then you find out, nah, not that interested. I mean, on top of that, I've never been interested in hookup culture at all. I've railed against it here on this channel before. So that was never an option of like, I'm not interested in them, but we can fuck. Nah. I was just like, hey, you know what? Not interested. Or hey, they're not interested in me. That's fine. I don't care. I was personally looking for a long-term committed relationship because that's what I believe everybody should be striving for. That's what I'm interested in. But I tell you, eventually, I didn't really feel anything when I'd go up past her. I'd just see somebody, think she's attractive. She looks nice. I mean, physically she looks nice. I'm attracted to her, but she looks like a decent person. And honestly, that builds grit. And I have used that strategy of, asking for sales, cold emailing, cold calling, just going into businesses, reaching out, saying, hey, here's what I do. How can I help you? Another thing I would do is, again, so you got to understand, after college, right? My whole life, I thought it was all planned out. Oh my, how foolish. Like, that was ridiculous to think at 21, my whole life, I had it figured out already. Nah, not even close. Not even close. In 1 month, graduated from college. And that's a transition time. And I think people need to understand that for themselves, right? So yes, it's a very exciting time and it's awesome. It feels great. But you've also been a student your entire life, for most of us, up to that point. And all of a sudden, there's a transition. Your identity changes. You're going from the identity of a student to now you're an employee. Now you are a business owner, whatever it may be. And I think people need to understand that there is a transition period and a process involved in that it's not just an overnight easy change. And sure, your identity isn't entirely that, but it is a big part of you. You spend 8-10 hours a day, 5 days a week doing something, that identity becomes part of you. So had that experience, lost my job, right? Could not work in this place I worked anymore because I had graduated and it was not a position that I was allowed to hold anymore. And the woman I thought I was going to be with forever, marriage proposal rejected, right? Like all in a month. It was a wild ass month. So on top of just asking people out, I would go into businesses and say, hey, here's my resume. Here's what I do. How can I help you out? Here's what I can do for you. Do you have any positions available that I could actually serve you in? I got rejected all the time. Do you know how many jobs I applied for before I finally got my first job? 200 jobs. I applied for 200 jobs before I got my first one. And then ironically, back to back to back, 3 job offers. But you understand the percent of success rate that is. I mean, it's minuscule. That's about a 1.5% success rate. However, once it pays off, man. And if you do anything enough, 1.5% success rate, you'll do pretty all right for yourself. So let's say you run a business and you charge $150 a month for the subscription service for your product. And let's say you end up reaching out to 100,000 people over the course of 1 year, 2 years, whatever it may be, 3 years. So then let's say your success rate is 1%. At the end of that, you have 1,000 customers paying you $150 a month. Think about that. That's $150,000 a month. Because you stuck with it and you had your 1% success rate and you weren't giving up. And damn it, you made it. Put yourself out there, just do it. Small things can yield big results and help you build grit along the way. All right, so kind of post-edit John here, adding one more thing. Sometimes, and I touched on this at the very beginning of the video here, sometimes the best solution is just to, hey, you know what, reset. All right, let's go back to the last point that we were doing well, reset and go forth again. When I lost my job, when I graduated, when I, had the relationship fall apart, I had no idea how to manage that and how to deal with that. So one thing that I did was I sold 90% of the things that I owned. I had virtually nothing. I could fit it all into the car I had at the time. And that was how I dealt with it. That was something that I did because I thought, I don't know what else to do. Let's go back to the basics and just start over again. And that's what I did. So that is an option. And that's what I did here with these videos. I'm trying to get Actio Spiritus running. I started Summer Day Fishing Company. All of this stuff was happening. I lost 6 or 8 videos. I don't remember how many it was. I was 4 videos editing behind. I'm still studying for the personal training certification. Still trying to figure out how to be a good husband and everything. And I was like, okay, you know what? Resetting, getting rid of those videos, whatever. We're going back today, first video back, recording it, and we're gonna get back on this track. That's also an option that you have. Just go back to the basics, reset, re-strategize once you get there, and refigure it out. And that's okay. It's not admitting defeat unless if you stop, keep punching, keep trying to move forward. Going back to the basics, taking a step back strategically is sometimes the right solution. All right, folks, that is all that I have for today's video. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen, as always. And until next time, have a great day.